So, Mr. Gallagher, back again, part 2, unit 4, learning. We're going to focus on operant conditioning, but before we do that, I forgot to tell you how to make you cry with the pencil. Real simple training. Show you a pencil, get a bunch of crushed raw onions and put them inside near your face, or cut them, make you cut the onions. Keep presenting the pencil. The onions will make you cry. If we did this over and over and over again, of course, the acquisition period depends on what the stimulus and the response is. If we did this over and over again, eventually I could get rid of the onions, show you a pencil, and you would cry. Classical conditioning. All right, so now we're on to operant conditioning. It's different. We associate responses and consequences. All right, this is simple. You get a reward, you get a punishment, reinforcement, so on and so forth. Operant conditioning was built on the theory of Edward Thorndike law of effect. Basically says this: behaviors followed by favorable consequences become more likely, and behaviors followed by unfavorable consequences become less likely. Duh, that seems pretty simple. If you do something and you get a benefit from it, you're going to keep doing it. If you do something and there's no benefit, or it's a bad consequence, you're not going to do it. This led to operant conditioning, pioneered by B.F. Skinner and other behaviorists. By behavior is strengthened if followed by a reinforcement, and diminished if followed by a punishment. All right, great little clip here from Big Bang Theory on operant conditioning. Again, operant conditioning, type of learning which behavior is strengthened if followed by a reinforcement, or diminished if followed by a punishment. Reinforcement is designed to encourage a behavior. Punishment is designed to stop a behavior. Operant behavior operates on an environment and produces consequences. This is associated with operant conditioning. Respondent behavior occurs as an automatic response to stimulus. This is associated with classical conditioning. Now here he is, B.F. Skinner, pioneer in behaviorism and operant conditioning. He took Thorndike's law and he rolled with it. All right. He developed behavioral technology and revealed principles of how to control behavior. Smart guy here. Not so smart bird. But figure if you could train a bird, we could train anything. And here he is, conditioning. Check that out if you get a chance. Skinner box is a device that B.F. Skinner used to train organisms by manipulating to obtain food or water reinforcers, and then he could record the responses in these old primitive-looking computer here up on the left and switches here. Of course, they do this today, but with much more modern technology. Shaping, a concept or term in operant conditioning, and when you slowly try and influence behavior to get your goal. All right, you shape it closer and closer and closer till you get the organism to do what you do. Just like your dog, you want to learn how to shake. When it lets us pop a little bit, you give it a cookie. When it does a little bit more, you give it another cookie, and you keep reinforcing it until eventually you say, "Hey, Fido, shake," and the dog puts his paw. Success. Watch Skinner shape a bird here in 40 seconds. It's pretty amazing. All right, ways to increase behavior. You want to do reinforcement to increase behavior. There's two different. You got positive and negative. Positive plus, negative minus. Positive add, negative remove. In operant conditioning, positive reinforcers, you add a positive stimulus. Oh, good job. Give me a hug. Oh, here's $5. Negative reinforcement, you remove an aversive stimulus. And you get in your car ding, 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 until you put that seatbelt on. The manufacturers want you to wear your seatbelt. They put the ding, ding, ding to bug you, to make you put your seatbelt on, and then it goes away. Trying to increase behavior of wearing a seatbelt by removing that annoying ding, ding, ding. All right, continuous reinforcement versus partial reinforcement. Continuous reinforcement, you reinforce the desired response every time or each time it occurs. Partial, you mix it up. You reinforce the response only part of the time. Now, here's the kicker here. Partial reinforcement is longer lasting, believe it or not, than continuous. We'll elaborate that more in a little bit here. It takes longer to do it, but it's slower to gain, but it's greater resistance to extinction. This is casinos right here, big rollers. Now, fixed ratio reinforcement reinforce the response only after a specific number of responses. Every five sheets of drywall you put up, you get paid. It's fixed, has a very high rate response. So you want someone to do something quickly, you do this. Although because of monotony, sometimes the motivation decreases. Ratio is number. Ratio is number. Fixed every time. Variable whenever. Unpredictable. Guess what? Vegas uses this in slot machines and video gaming because it's total chance when you're going to get hit. You may play for 20 minutes, win $5. You may play for 5 more minutes, win $200. It's variable. It is powerful, though. This is why people get addicted to gambling. Besides the physiological response, this variable ratio reinforcement is strong to resistance, and it's a strong behavior. Fixed interval after time. Interval is time. All right. Variable interval reinforce response at an unpredictable time. Interval is time. Produces slow, steady responding. Punishment, opposite of reinforcement. Reinforcement encourages behavior. Punishment wants to decrease behavior. All right, your little puppy goes potty in the house. You spank it with a newspaper. That's punishment. You want to stop that. You take it outside. It goes potty outside. You say, good boy. You give it a cookie. That is reinforcement. Just like in reinforcement, there's positive and negative punishment. Check this out. Positive, you're adding an aversive stimulus. Get your hands out of there. Ow. Okay? You're speeding. Ticket. That stinks. Negative punishment, you are withdrawing. You're taking away something desirable. Hey, you're doing terrible in school. Guess what? I'm taking your phone. Your phone, gone. It's mine. Okay? Car keys, hand them over. No more driving. All right? Until you can stop staying up late, not studying, we're going to punish you, okay? So you take away something you like in order to stop a behavior. Make sense? All right, again, reinforcement, positive, negative. Positive, add a positive stimulus. Negative, remove an aversive stimulus. Increase behavior. Punishment, stop behavior. These guys are dog trainers. They use basic operant conditioning to train dogs. Check them out. All right, cognitive map, mental representation of layouts, one's environment. Skinner stumbled upon this in his studies. Basically, after exploring a maze, rats activate, they learned a cognitive map of it. Just like you guys have cognitive maps of the school and where you're going in your head. Primary versus secondary reinforcers. Primary reinforcers involve food, water, shelter, and affection. It affects survival. Very strong. Secondary reinforcers are associated with primary. They can get you that stuff, but they are not primary. All right, late learning. This always pops up on the AP exam. Learning that occurs, but is not apparent until after there is an incentive to demonstrate it. You may learn how to use chopsticks when you're in elementary school. But then all of a sudden, you never do it again, but you go on vacation to China or the Philippines, and there's chopsticks. You know how to use it. That's latent learning. All right, over-justification effect. the effect of promising reward for something doing what one already likes to do. The person may now see the reward rather than the intrinsic inside interest as motivation. This sometimes can have an effect on behavior as well. Very powerful right here. Make sure you understand this. Intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation comes from inside for the sake of doing it to be effective. You feel good doing it. It's very much stronger than extrinsic. You do something because of a promise or the threat of a punishment. All right? So, intrinsic, more powerful than extrinsic. This is quick. This is from inside. Sometimes it's comes along slower. Good motivation. This guy's awesome from Virginia Tech. All right, a little chart here in the book to make sure you're clear on the terms of operant conditioning. And last couple slides. I'm going to try and roll through this real quick here, wrap it up. Observational learning, learning by observing others. Modeling, process of observing and imitating. We do this all the time. You look at YouTube videos, TikTok videos. That's modeling. Mirror neurons are part of the frontal lobe that when we perform something or observe someone doing it, it actually stimulates our brain, and that's how imitation helps us learn. Albert Bandura, know him. Observational learning, the Bobo doll. He found out basically observational learning and modeling is very powerful in behavior. Little kids beat the crud out of these Bobo dolls after they watched adults do it. Before they did it. If the adults didn't do it, they didn't do it. All of a sudden, they saw adults beating the poor little Bobo doll up, then they imitated it. All right. Last slide here. Pro-social behavior, positive constructive behavior, opposite of antisocial, helping others. Sometimes we don't do enough of that in our society, and it hurts me. Learn helpfulness in operant conditioning or in any type of learning. The learned sense of powerlessness influenced by stress, trauma, or repeated failure. It is a dream killer. And this poor guy, watch this. It's a Thorndike experiment based on learned helplessness. All right, that's it. We did it. I went over a little bit. Sorry, guys. I'll check you soon.